Assalamualaikum. It's Ali Zahir speaking to you of the history of the Muslims of Nuwara. This already I had done one speech. It's in the internet, in the YouTube. If you put call for the history of the Muslims of Nuwara, you may see it. But this particular video clip I'm doing as a token contribution towards the forthcoming Miladul Nabi 21, which has been authenticated by His Honorable Prime Minister and organized by the former Mayor of Nuwara, Deputy Mayor of Nuwara, Al-Hajj, Mr. Falil, along with the District Secretary Nuwara. On the 4th of March, they had a high-powered meeting in Nuwara at the District Secretariat, which I was invited. But due to this pandemic reasons, I couldn't make it. Anyway, while being in Colombo, there's a lot of things I could do for you all and join the team to make this a big mission a great success. So wish you all the best, and let me start off. Today I'm going to speak the history of the Muslims of Nuwara, but before you speak the history of the Muslims, it's better you should as a foreground know the history of Nuwara itself. So make it brief. This is Nuwara. In the good old ancient days, Nuwara was a part of mythology. It was heard in the Indian epic of Ramayana, where Sita Devi was brought to this place called Nuwara, and he was kept at Sita Eliya. But this is not no written record about it. There was no written record, it's mythology. But later on in Nuwara, there was, it belonged to the Kandian kingdom, where it was a dead forest, but it was considered a watercourse for the island. So time and again, the kings of Kandy visited Nuwara, which it was called Nuwara Patana. They visited Nuwara, the kings, to check its watercourse and also search for gemstones. Nobody lived there as it was cold. Then there is an incident where King Dutugamanu had having a big brawl with his father, comes and stays in Kotmale. Now Kotmale, they were ironmongers. They used to come to Nuwara in search of iron. I don't know why they, but then they say so. Even this word Piturutaragal had another name. It was called Yakadagala in the ancient days. So apart from that, nobody was living there. But according to the Archaeological Commissioner Bell, thousands of years ago, at the summit of Piturutaragal, there had been hermits meditating. So that to prove that there was a inscribed stone of Felipi which was there, and then later on it was brought down and kept in the old Kacheri, which was burnt. And then what happened was, after the fire, that disappeared. I don't know, maybe somebody has taken it for safekeeping. So that could be traced out. Now, this is how the Nuwara history starts. When the Britishers captured Kandy, somewhere in 1790s or so, by 1818 there was a rebellion, which was the word is, they call it Bella Sakarel, I think. The Sinhalese revolted against the British rule, and they revolted for freedom. But by 1819 the rebellion was brought under control. And once peace prevailed once again, a team of soldiers headed by Dr. Davy. Dr. Davy is a brother of a famous British parliamentarian, Humphrey Davy. Now he was a captain of the British regiment in Ceylon at that time. And in 1819, Dr. Davy takes a team to explore the interiors of Kandy and to discover a region known as the Uwa. While going deep into the thick jungle, they come up to the summit of the Kikiriyamana mountain in Nuwara, and they see a virgin forest no human beings to be seen. Its fauna and flora all quite similar to that of England, and all animals and birds. Not a single human being living there in 1819 when they saw this thing. So it was, but it looked very much like England, very cool, and a very region just like in London. So immediately this team, they get back to Kandy and report this matter to Governor Edward Barnes, who in turn was really delighted, and he says, okay, in that case, why should we send our boys to London for treatment, for convalescence? Let us start a military hospital in Nuwara. And by 1824, the governor orders for the construction of a military hospital, and also he thinks he needs a residence himself, and he orders for the construction of the Barnes Hall. The Barnes Hall, finally the governor's residence, which finally becomes a Grand Hotel. Then that's that, and then in 1845 comes the famous hunter Sir Samuel Baker. He came hunting from to Africa and to India and then to Sri Lanka in search of elephants. Then he falls ill, and then he was asked to go to a place called Nuwara Patana for convalescence. He came and lived that night at the rest house, which is a modern post office, and the following day he saw it was a beautiful countryside, but nothing to eat, a place full of starvation. So he immediately gets back home and works up with his brother John and his sister and brings a big shipload of cattle, poultry and all to Sri Lanka. It's a long story. And then he comes up to Nuwara and starts the baker's farm, which finally paves the way to the modern history of Nuwara. Now they are getting closer to how the Muslims came in. Then later on, this Nuwara became a little England. The climate and the people, everything was English. When Baker came, there was only 20 local families. They were living in Sinhala they call Varichigawal, in mud huts. Then with this, now it was a small British settlement, all white-skinned guys. And then the old town hall that was demolished, that was the center of attraction. That was a place you had ballroom. And the golf also came as a good pastime. But golf link was not the present link but we get the original golf link was at the Anderson link. The ladies' golf was played around the town hall, and this area they were playing polo and all that. Then, with this emergence of a new British society in this little England, lot of new requirements are coming in. This is where the Muslims played a vital role. Firstly, those fashionable ladies who went for ballrooms and had a beautiful bourgeois life, they needed good clothing and stylish dresses. You know how this 17th century ladies, how they were acting in Europe. It's like that. They were here. So there was a great need for tailors, the ladies' tailors. So immediately arrangements were made to get down these tailors from Madras. They were called Madrasi tailors, and they were all in Nuwara. These tailors who came in, they were all camped down in a location where the present model shop is there in Eliya. It was called the Baipura, because they were all Madrasi tailors, and they were ladies' tailors. And these tailors catered to the needs of the British ladies for their fashionable clothing. Then what happens? Now these tailors, when this model shop was came into construction, this settlement that was there, they were all sent into Haveli, into called MT number 1, 2. And then the successors to these tailors are the oldest residents of Nuwara. They are people like Haris Taylor, Harfin Nana, and Kadarbai, and especially Ajreen Nana, my father's good old friend, and also the great-grandfather of Walid Muhammad, former mayor of Nuwara, who is now organizing this Miladun Nabi movement. So this is the history of the Muslims of Nuwara. Then the other was the butchers. the Britishers wanted beef, so cattle they wanted. They got down the butchers. These butchers were succeeded by the successors of the butchers were K. Abraham Sabu and Company, Yusuf Stores, Rahim Sabu, Hussain Sabu, and all those people were there. But later on, all these butchers crowd, as they were they all got back home. The last to go back home was the Yusuf Stores, Farooq and others. But very few stayed back. But the ladies' tailors crowd, lock, stock and barrel remain in Nuwara. And then that is the history of the Muslims. But again, the history of the mosque in Nuwara. Earliest mosque, before that I could say, before the arrival of the ladies' tailors and the butchers, Nuwara also was visited by some other set of Muslims. Long before that, they came from Beruwala. They were called the Potini Velandas from Beruwala. They came on cloth business as Potini Velando, but never stayed there. But no, they bought properties and then they got back. It was they who first started this mosque, which presently they call as Masjidul Kabir, right? And then they had properties in Kudaya, and they also owned some land at the whole Kacheri, which had the German hotel. They were all theirs. Even recently, some of their successors had come up and gone, but I couldn't meet them. Then that is the Beruwala crowd. But now, so even the mosque. Then later on, this mosque around 1910 or so, K. Abraham Sabu and Company, they they write a deed. It's called Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Mosque, and also they buy another property in Matale, and that property was on the high street of Matale, which was gifted to this deed. I have a copy of the both deeds. Then what happens is, then later on, M.H. Muhammad, he changes it into, when he reconstructed it, made it, I was in the committee, as Masjidul Kabir, and later on, the former Deputy Mayor Falil Muhammad, he and his team, who were trustees, they come forward and do the modern mosque. And finally, the Honorable Prime Minister, who was Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who comes to declare it open. So this is a brief history of the Muslims of Nuwara and the mosque. And now I know the time and again now for this Miladul Nabi celebration is going to be a great momentum. A big powerful team is now working up, and I'm also being to do some contribution. The most vital thing is they need a photograph of the old mosque. I had it, but I lost it. I'm sure as my videos go around the world, anybody in Pudukkottai, Ondakulam, I met some been there, has anything like that, please be in touch with Honorable Falil Muhammad is in the Facebook, and or you can contact me. We need those photographs because they are going to publish a magazine on this great event. It's going to be a great momentable event. The Prime Minister will be here, most probably the President also should be here, and then they are going to float a stamp, and then it's going to be a grand momentum where even if you have whatever claims, whatever you have, any right, even those people of Beruwala, they can come forward. If they do have some right, something lost. Even I lost my right. My father was a businessman. We came in 1925. We had a huge shop, land, and when it was all lost. In 83 it was burnt, and half my land was taken, whole land was taken by the government, and after 30 years I only got half. Other half was not given. But where my other contributor, whom I can't mention the name, he goes to the Supreme Court, gets the entire thing. So I had come up to Colombo to fight and beat the president, get the other half, but by that time I'm now 74. So now I feel divinity is much better than a material world, because we are in the last lap of our life. But even if he gives it, I can give it to my grandchildren. So that's right. And then be in touch. It's going to be a great momentum. The Miladul Nabi 2021, which is going to be a very powerful event, not in Australia, not in Sri Lanka. It's going to be a worldwide movement. Good luck, goodbye, Assalamu alaikum. It's Ali Zahir calling you from Colombo.